Hoosiers. Personal favorite of mine. I loved it back in high school. It had been so long since I saw it, so it was almost like watching a whole new movie. I had to break out the Chuck Taylors um, just to watch it, and I was super excited to see it again. And talking about leadership and community and how people work together, this is a really good one because it's set in a 50s small town, which is pretty much the like most stereotypically like tight knit community that you could have. Um, and so that allows all the characters to know each other, all the personalities to clash, and all the organizations to be very cut and dry, which is very cool for the viewer to be able to view these leadership principles. So the main character, Gene Hackman, he comes in as he's a new hire as a basketball coach. So he does have position power. He doesn't quite have person power and respect of the people around him because just because he's been accepted by the official school, in reality, the the opinions of the townsfolk are just as important to whether he will keep that job, and I'll get into that in a minute. So, and one of the things that we had studied in this unit was form, storm, norm, and perform. Which, as he got to know his team, this is something that he was able to do. He would form the plan. You know, he would tell them how we're going to do it. You know, we're going to pass 4 times. We're going to pass 4 times. We're going to practice passing 4 times. When it's time to perform, his team better be passing 4 times because that's how he told them to do it. That's the practice. Now, you know, in collective efficacy, of course, in the first couple games, there's that show off who's, you know, he knows he can shoot from down the court, so he's, you know, every time he's shooting from down the court, and you know, I think a lot of coaches and a lot of the townsfolk were like, yeah, you know, we got our star boy, and you know, the coach doesn't care if one kid is going to win one game. He wants his entire team to win the entirety of the games. Collective efficacy. We can do it. It's a sense of interdependence. And, you know, there is going to be sequential interdependence. And, you know, when it's practice, when it's time for, you know, the players, when they're running drills, when it's time for, you know, one player shoots, you know, the next player goes back, then one player shoots. And, you know, there is each player's time to shine. But really, like, it's going to be a hybrid of all these things once they get onto the court. And, you know, their interdependence is going to be so important. And that's why it's, you know, the Gene Hackman's character understands this. He understands that it's more important for the boys to be one unit together than to have a star. You know, there is a lot of power and influence throughout this movie. You know, there's both the power and influence of, you know, the school board and the town who have hired him, but then there's all the people, and there seem to be a lot of people that think that their role might be a little more important than it actually is. And I think this is going to be the case. This is kind of the stereotypical, like, sports dad. You know, there's even a scene where one of the dads finds his way into the locker room, and he's like telling the coach, "Hey, you better do this and this different. You better fix this." And the coach's like, this isn't your thing. Like, this isn't your authority. You don't have any kind of official power or person power. You know, really, there's no informal power. But because it's a small town, like, the other dads are upset too, and there's so many of them that they're just like, yeah, let them go in the locker room and complain. Which, you know, really, for an effective organization, you got to shut that down right away. And, you know, one of the things that we had learned in this unit was that effective leaders make everyone feel like the in-groupers. And what I love about Gene Hackman's character as a coach, you know, there was one kid that they used to, at the beginning, they're joking, they're like, we got 6.5 players. And then everyone's like, he's like, why 6.5? I see 7 men here. And they're like, he doesn't count. You know, he's too short. He's no good. But Gene Hackman recognizes that that man is just as much of a man, just as important, just as much part of the team. So much to the fact, if his star player is showboating, he's going to take him out and put him in. And I thought that was really cool. And he makes everyone feel like there's even one character who's very important. His name's Jimmy, who, due to some personal problems and really wanting to focus on school, had made the choice not to play basketball. Now the whole town is just dumbfounded by this. They're like, because Jimmy is like the man, and like, well, and of course I think any coach that came in would have been begging this kid to get back on his team, but not this guy. He approaches it differently. He befriends him, and he's kind to him. He talks to him, and he still kind of makes him feel like a part of the team, but he doesn't pressure him to do something that he's not ready to get back to. That becomes very important. I'm going to get back to that in a second. In these teams, the coach has special. There's leader member exchanges. There's special relations with some of the members. One of the and I think that's really apparent. And there's a lot more like credit given to the coach, and you see the moment where even the team players are starting to respect the coach. He's benched one of the players, but as soon as somebody from the other team lays hands on their coach, he's going to go hit him because he's like, that's my coach. Like, even though he's telling me what to do, and I think that's really cool. That leader member exchange. It's like, and it deals again with that. The collective efficacy. It's like, we are a team. Like, that is my coach. Like, I don't necessarily agree with the fact that he benched me because I was mouthing off earlier. But you know what? If you lay a hand on my coach, I'm going to hit you. And I thought that was really cool. And, there's a moment, like the kid had been mad at the coach all game. He had mouthed off and be like, I don't think that I should do it like that. And as soon as someone from the other team, like, starts to push his coach, it's just bam. And, there's this nice little moment as the kid and the coach are walking out. It's like, I got him pretty good for you, didn't I, coach? And the coach's like, I mean, yeah, like, the coach can't encourage the violence, but also he's like, I'm proud to know that, like, you got my back. And that was cool. So this small town really works on idiosyncrasy credits, which idiosyncrasy credits are as if everyone kind of has a certain amount. You've seen kind of what a person can do. And so you kind of will help them. You believe that they can do the next thing and invest in them doing the next thing. And when they do the next best thing, that's when you trust them with the next thing and then the resources for each new thing. And I think that there's kind of a, like that's kind of how the small town really works. A small town is built on idiosyncrasy credits. So this new guy comes in with almost no idiosyncrasy credits. And so when he's doing things like benching star players, people are getting mad because pretty much all they care about in this town is basketball. So they're going to have a town hall meeting. This is like the middle of the movie. It's kind of that moment where you're like, yeah, like this is either, well, there's more than half of the movie left, so I'm sure they're going to work this out, but like they're saying like the town is going to vote to fire this coach. And what's so interesting is that player Jimmy, who had left the team but the coach had respected his wishes to leave, comes in and he says, you know what? I know that I'm important to this team and I'm going to play again. And everyone's like, yeah, right? Because everyone in the town, no one knows about the coach and who he is as a person or what he stands for. But everyone knows this kid, Jimmy, because Jimmy's the star player. Jimmy matters. Jimmy has a lot of idiosyncrasy credits. Jimmy says, I'm going to play this season. I was like, yes, Jimmy. And he goes, if you keep him on. Because if he's on, then I'm on. But if he goes, I go. Everyone was like, well, guess the coach is staying. And because, he, a man that they respect, even this kid that they respect, says he believes in what the coach is doing, the whole town's on board with it now. Now the coach has the leverage and the people power behind him to get done what he needs to get done. So really, like, this is a movie about idiosyncrasy credits, if anything. And, yeah, that's Hoosiers. Great movie.